Welcome to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach, and as every single week, your coach. Today is episode number 206. I want to talk to you about being perfect. Stay tuned. Well, hello, everybody. How are all my sweet, sweet friends doing today? All of my sweethearts. You know you are my sweetheart. I call myself sweetheart. I call my client sweetheart. And I call you sweetheart because you know what? You are. And so am I. What I want to talk to you about today is really interesting because I just did a podcast, number 204, was how to stop being afraid of feeling sad and angry in order to lose weight. And I had done an interview with Karen on a letter that she wrote me. And the interesting thing about that podcast was that we had internet interruption and I actually could not finish the podcast. So I just pieced it together the best that I could and made some comments on what I thought about it and put it out as a podcast. So after that, I got a letter from one of my previous clients that I want to read to you because what I want to talk to you about today is the idea of perfectionism. And it's so funny because when I did that podcast, it did not occur to me. But then my dearest, dearest client, who I have not talked to in a year, but worked with her almost over a year ago, she sent me this letter. And so I just want to read it to you because it's all about perfectionism. This is what she said. Hi, Dr. Deb. I wanted to reach out to you regarding your podcast 204 on how to stop being afraid of feeling your anger and sadness. I know your podcast was on how to stop being afraid, but the takeaway I got on the podcast is that you do not have to be perfect. For example, you were not able to complete the call with Karen due to internet issues, but you still decided to use her call in the podcast. As someone who is working on perfectionism issues, you demonstrated that whatever you do, it does not need to be perfect. You took the technical glitch and were able to make it still work. Now, as I write this, a light bulb went off in my head, and I can use this podcast to not be afraid if something does not work out as it was originally planned. I can still make it work, and everything will be all right. Otherwise, to catch you up on what is happening in my life, I still have maintained my weight loss of 25 pounds and have kept the weight off for over a year. Furthermore, I am able to use what I learned from when we worked together and apply the tools in all aspects of my life. And this is from Deanna. Now, when I got this letter, I had this aha moment about this podcast. I didn't even think about it. And so once she told me that, I said, you know what? I have to do a podcast on perfectionism because this is a perfect example. And I didn't even realize because my mind was not causing me problems, is that when we had that internet glitch, first I just immediately, my brain went to, oh no, the sky is falling, of course. But then within maybe 5 or 10 minutes, I got the wherewithal within me. I steadied my mind. I brought myself back to the present moment. I was sitting in a chair. I was looking at what I had just done. I was off to the races on what a terrible thing this is. And then I realized, no, I'm just sitting here and I'm breathing. And then I had clarity. My mind was soothed. My mind was calm. And from that came my wise perception, which is what I was talking to you about on one of my podcasts when I talked to you about my 4-day silent retreat. That once your mind is calm, then you can have wise perception. Wise wisdom. Wisdom is wise, of course, but you can have wisdom. In a calm mind, there's clarity. And that really is what happened to me, is that once I calmed my mind down, I realized I could piece this together. I could pull it together because a lot of the things that Karen had said were really nuggets for you to learn. And that is how that podcast came about because I didn't need it to be perfect. And I really want you to think about that. In coaching, one of the sayings that we have is that you don't have to do A+ work. B- work is acceptable. Because really, when we're trying to make things perfect, we don't do what we really want to do in life. We don't make our dreams come true because most of the things aren't perfect. And it also applies to all of my clients when it comes to talking about food in their bodies and perfectionism. One of the things that always occurs in the beginning with my clients is that they want to do A+ work. They want to be perfect. They want to be my first perfect client. And of course, what always happens is that they find out that they're not, because they get to find out what they've been doing their whole life that's not perfect. And with the coaching that I do with them, we get to look at it with curiosity to find out how it's actually working for them and not against them. You can learn so much from your mistakes. You really can't learn if you're perfect all the time. And really what happens is if you're trying to be perfect all the time, you do so much less in this world. And you put so much less of yourself out there, which is a perfect example of my podcast. Is like, that was really a good podcast when I went back to listen to it, that there were some really good nuggets that Karen had shared in the short interview that we had, and that I could pull it together to help you and inspire you with feelings, just like I helped her. So what is the takeaway that I want you to have from today, from perfectionism, from what Deanna wrote me? It's like, sometimes my clients, my podcast listeners, help open up my eyes to things that I can't even see. So I was so thankful that Deanna wrote this to me, and I wanted to make sure that it was okay that I could talk about it on air. But this is what I want for you. The next time you want to do something or try something new, let's just say that you want to start food journaling, that you want to go back and get my companion guide, which you know you can get by going to drdebbutler.com/change. And you can get my podcast companion guide. And one of the things that is in there is the physical hunger scale, the emotional hunger scale, and examples of how to do food journals. And let's just say, because of this podcast, you decide to start doing some food journals the way I tell you how to do it. And you can read it in my podcast companion book, or you can also go back to the beginning of my podcast, my first 4 podcasts, number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4, where I tell you how to do food journals. And then what you can do is, if you come from a place of B- work instead of A+ work, like I'm willing to do it and I'm willing to make mistakes and it's okay, you will learn so much about yourself, why you put what you put in your mouth, why you eat what you eat. You will learn so much from not being perfect. And when I think about all of my clients, when I did an interview with Michelle not too long ago, one of the things that she said she learned the most from working with me was from her mistakes, from not being perfect. Helped her to actually be better. So I want to invite you this week. I know this is a short podcast, but I think that there's a lot that you can get from it. This week, I want you to start food journaling. I want you to identify your physical hunger scale, and I want you to write it down. That's all I want you to do, is download those food journals, write down what time you ate, why you ate, what you ate, and then I want you to write down your physical hunger scale when you start and your hunger scale when you're done. And that's it. There's a column for comments. If you want to write something about it to yourself to help you remember, write it down. And then what I want you to do is I want you to go back after you've done these for a week and go over them as if you were working with me. Because that's exactly what I would do with you if you were working with me. You would send me those food journals and I would ask you questions about them. You could be the one that could ask questions to yourself about things that you see in your food journals. You know, if you ate to a +3 or +4, you could ask yourself why. If you had a lot of joy eats and it wasn't your intention, you could ask yourself, why are you looking for joy in all the wrong places today? What's going on? And you can make not being perfect an opportunity to learn and to create more of what you actually want in your life, which is really just to be more aware of what the heck is going on inside of you. So 2 things. If you haven't already, go and get my companion workbook, drdebbutler.com/change. Look at the physical food journal, the emotional hunger scale, and the actual food journals themselves, and start using them. Very, very simply. That's it. It's not about being perfect on these food journals. It's about seeing what you're doing, no matter what it is, and being able to use compassion and curiosity with what you see. In honesty, that's exactly what happened with my podcast when I did that with Karen and we had an internet glitch, is I learned from what happened from that, more from my client, from Deanna, is that what I learned is that internet issues, no problem. I can always figure out something. I don't have to be perfect. My podcast doesn't have to be perfect. This podcast doesn't have to be perfect. I just need to get some information out to you. Can you do the same thing for yourself this week? Find something out about yourself that you never knew by looking at these food journals and becoming curious. You know what? Perfectionism is not the name of the game. Thank you, Deanna. And for you, it's not going to help you get anything. It's going to keep you away from your dreams. I think when I first started my podcast, that was actually the first thing that probably created such a problem for me ever getting one podcast out to you, is that I did want it to be perfect. I kept writing script after script, kept finding problem after problem, and I couldn't get anything out for weeks. And finally, when I let it go, it's because I let it go imperfectly. I finally figured that perfectionism isn't what you're looking for from me. What you're looking for from me is inspiration. And do I have some of that? I have like 205 episodes of inspiration because I decided in episode number 1 of my podcast to stop trying to be perfect because it was impossible. And I just started being me, giving out information, and knowing that if I could change one life, B- work would be great. I want you to do the same. And as always, 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 2 things. 1, if you don't want to do this alone, there is help. I do individual coaching with people who listen to my podcast and cannot figure out how to actually apply the tools. It's okay. It's okay if you can't. That's exactly what I do, is I help you learn how to apply those tools in a way that only a coach, a good coach, can help you do, which is see what the heck is going on in your mind that's stopping you so that you can stop believing the things in your mind that are stopping you. So if that sounds good to you, then I want you to go to drdebbutler.com/work with me. You can set up a mini session. And as always, no matter what else you do this week, you know what I want you to do. I want you to be very, very, very kind to yourself. Bye-bye.
To get a free copy of Dr. Deb's companion workbook, with all the tools, homeworks, and discussions that she uses in her podcast with all of her private clients, please go to drdebbutler.com/change. This will make it even easier to follow along with her in future broadcasts.